Greetings, friends. What does the Bible have to say about homosexuality? And what should our attitude towards homosexuality be today? Well, the Bible talks about this matter in 4 different places. First, in Genesis chapter 9. Let me just read a few paragraphs from that chapter. And there came 2 angels to Sodom, which was a city. They came at even in the evening. And Lot, who was one of the men, one of the chief characters, sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them. And he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early, and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. And he pressed upon them greatly. And they turned in unto him, and entered into his house, and he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot, and said unto him, Where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. And Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door after him, and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold now, I have 2 daughters, which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing. For therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. So anyways, the men in the street calling out to Lot are saying, Bring out these 2 visitors so that we may know them. The word know is used, it means sexual intercourse. This is how it is used in the Bible. They also use the term go in unto someone. That means sexual intercourse. They're not using that term here, but just so you... And if there's any doubt, the second paragraph where they're talking about where Lot is saying, well, you can't... Please don't do that, but you can have sex with my daughters, which is a difficult position to be in. But, I mean, if there's any doubt... we know from that context that we are indeed talking about sexual intercourse there. So so I didn't quite catch that the first time I looked at Genesis 19. Like, does it actually talk about homosexuals? It does. You just have to know like what the word "no" means in this context. It's clear enough. It's clear enough because But anyways. I don't need to, read the rest of the chapter, but God destroys Sodom. Not just because they practice sodomy, but because there are all kinds of different sins going on there. So that's the first example. The second example is Leviticus Chapter 18, verse 22. It's very short. It's just one verse. This is the King James Bible. The walk of God's people is the name of the chapter. Before this, they're talking about how you shouldn't see anyone. Just don't see naked people. Whether you don't see your father naked or your brother's sister naked, or you just try not to see anyone naked. But then, so it's building up to sorts of things you shouldn't do. And it says, verse 22, Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. And just to throw it in there, it says in the next verse, Neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith, neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down thereto. It is confusion. So they're talking about don't do anything homosexual, and certainly don't practice bestiality. I don't think that's very complicated. I think it's pretty clear here. In this case, that don't do the homosexual act. Now I know some people talk about, well, what about eros? What about just loving a man? I don't know. I guess the Bible doesn't talk about that, but I'm pretty sure that's not approved of. But certainly the homosexual act that's a no-no. Two more examples. Romans chapter 1, verses 26 and 27. This is from the New Testament. So in this section of the chapter, the Apostle Paul is talking about the guilty world. Verse 26, for this cause God gave them up unto vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men with men working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was meet. And then it says a few verses later, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors. So you get this. So it's not just like right on the homosexual thing. There's a whole bunch of other sinful stuff there. But that was very clear about the homosexual act, that is a big sin. And the last example is 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 9 to 10. Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. The key term there was abusers of themselves with mankind, which has been translated, I believe I was listening to some Orthodox and they were saying that they don't use that term abusers of themselves with mankind. They were using actually homosexuals. Now, maybe that's more questionable. Maybe you could argue, maybe that they don't mean homosexuals. But, based on what we've seen, I think that's clearly what they mean. Maybe not so clear to everyone, but I think that's enough examples. And those are the examples. If you know of any others, let me know. So it should be clear from these examples that the Bible counts homosexuality as a serious sin. And the Christian view is that you're not supposed to hate sinners. You're supposed to act with love towards all sinners, but encourage them to change their ways. Encourage them to change their ways. People might think that we hate gays. If you hate, then that's not good for you. That's sinful to have hate in your heart. That's not good for you either. So if you really hate gays, you could be in trouble too. But if you love someone, I don't mean like eros love, but love towards your fellow humans, love towards your brother, then you want what's best for them. You want them to turn away from their evil ways. And we're all sinners to some degrees. I mean, I sin, you sin, we all sin. But it's not going to help us if we can pretend that, this isn't a sin, that, it's okay, that I can, justify. We try to be better people, in other words. And it's also true that some sins are worse than others. Now, I don't know if homosexuality is the worst sin, but I think it's a pretty high level sin. It's not like up there on with murder, but it is a pretty high level sin. That's the main idea what I wanted to get across in this video. Now, in modern times, there's the term homophobia, which I don't think is appropriate, because a phobia is a fear, an irrational fear. But, I mean, first of all, it's not really, is it irrational? And second of all, is it a fear? I mean, do you want homosexuality in your society? You don't, right? If you're a Christian, you shouldn't want that. But do you fear homosexuals? You should fear God, but you shouldn't fear anyone else other than God. So I don't think it's appropriate to use the word homophobia. And also, it's not exactly irrational. I mean, there's a rational reason, because it's unhealthy, and not just because it's a sin, but it's unhealthy. It's unhealthy. You can get a lot of diseases from doing that. But even I mean, that shouldn't really be the point, because even if they found out some way to make it healthy, it's an unclean act. God doesn't like it. It's not good for society, for civilization. When civilizations are going through their end stage, when they're collapsing, you see more homosexuality. Amongst other things too, of course, amongst all sorts of other sins. But the last point I would make is that when we talk about homophobia, I mean, it's not really about fear. It's about disgust. Now, I don't know what the Bible doesn't say. It said it's an abomination, which I guess you could say that's liken that to disgust, the sensation of disgust. But I'm not saying that that's explicitly what the church tradition teaches. I don't really know. But in a modern sense, when men are uncomfortable around homosexuals, it's not that they necessarily hate homosexual. I don't think most men hate gays. Maybe there are some few men who really hate them. I don't know in Muslim countries what that's like, but it's not so much hate. It's being uncomfortable with it because it is disgusting. It on a visceral level, it is disgusting. So this is something you're not allowed to say on YouTube. This might be bad for my channel. This is one of the number one things on YouTube you're not allowed to say. But I just said it, so there it is. But if it helps, no AIDS. Just trying to clarify the matter here. It is disgusting, right? It's a disgusting act. What more can I say? Hasta luego, amigos.